Dave, the absolute rooster Simpson from the property specialist team. How are you, mate?
The nicknames that just get better and better.
I've just made up two tonight already, haven't I? Mate, it's David. It's really great for you to come along tonight just to let everyone know about land and build prices, land availability, build time frames, except all that sort of stuff. So, mate, I'm looking forward to getting some of your insights tonight. Luke, is this is not the first time you've joined me? Are you on like number 2 or number 3 with one of these?
About number 3 now, I think, mate. Number 3 and number 4. Yeah.
Okay.
So starting to get a regular beat and pattern into coming on to share our story and give our clients and future clients updates and what's been happening on the inside of the fabric of Axon.
It's funny. I remember I was here. We did our last one exactly 1 month ago. It was the 1st of February. So apologies, everyone. We've had a small break. I went away for a week, which sort of impacted it there. And then 2 weeks ago, we did a masterclass on the same night with our Axon Elite group, which is like the finance that we went. So we did the masterclass with Deb, Luke, you and I, where we went sort of narrow and deep as far as the finance goes. So we've had a little short break. Ladies and gents, about being on your screens, but rest assured we're back bigger and better than ever right now. But it's always good to sort of reflect, fellas, isn't it, over the last month? Like, as I was just reviewing my calendar before about, what are we going to talk about to give people those insights into what actually happens behind the scenes at Axon. Fuck, there's been some client calls, there's been some doozies, there's been some progress that we've all made. And the amount of people that we've been able to help over the last month has been phenomenal, quite frankly.
It has, mate. As you know, like we get off, you and I both, in particular, get off our calls and we are absolutely buzzing. And as you rightly say, like sometimes we're a family counsellor, sometimes we're a padre, sometimes we're a career advisor. And by the way, sometimes we speak about property too.
Yeah, yeah. I literally did a coaching session this afternoon with a absolute champion bloke up in Darwin. Artillery officer, no less. So him and I were just fucking flapping off from my bloody back in the days. And I reckon we spoke 40% about the actual property itself, and the other 60% is all about the dynamics of his postings and the right time and whether he's going to get his missus involved down the track and like just the use of his entitlements and just the overall sequence of when it's going to take place. So yeah, it's. I remember when you first started, you used to say this all the time. Ryan now says it all the time. Georgia now says it all the time. Every time we do a connection call, a coaching, a success package, everyone comes out, they're like, well, that was different. They're all different.
Mate, I've had an absolute... Sorry, Simo, go ahead, mate.
Yeah, I was just going to say, everyone's got their own unique circumstances and it keeps us on our toes and we bloody love it. For me, it's almost like I'm buying a property every other day of the week myself when I'm going out sourcing properties. We just get so much joy out of it.
It's such a good feeling, isn't it, Dave? Because I know, like, here's a little insight for you, ladies and gents. About 3 years ago, I came up with this saying, right? And I was going to put like a big sticker on the back of my car. Like, it was going to be Axon's slogan. It was like, we don't hunt the Taliban anymore. We hunt the best property deal for you. Now, my wife quite rightly gave me a little insight into like, maybe we don't fucking have that on the M1 as we're driving to and from Brisbane.
Yeah, I know.
But no, in all seriousness, Dave, certainly between you and I, mate, we've got the better part of bloody 10 Afghan deployments, between us. But I know that you truly do hunt for the very best deal for every single client every time. And like, it's the thrill of the chase and all that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's so rewarding for us. Obviously, our clients and Axon bloody members get the benefit of buying those investment properties and securing their financial future. But we get so much satisfaction out of it as well. It's like a self-fulfilling bloody prophecy. We're helping ourselves help other people. Love it.
That's so good.
Brilliant. We've got Franny on the line tonight. Angie's on the line tonight. Noah's joining us. Patina, Matt and Patina. I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys straight after this. So when am I doing that? Let me just double check the time. I've actually given myself half an hour. So Patina, if you guys can start at like 7:45 as opposed to 8 p.m., just give us a little thumbs up in the chat there, mate, and I'll be able to jump on a little bit earlier. So thanks for that. Mickey Gallen is in the house, mate. That was great to see you a couple of weeks ago on the Finance Masterclass. I can only assume you're bloody stoked with the progress of your property as well, mate. So it's good to see your sort of smiling face. And I do remember, I think you sent one of your friends our way. Luke, did you do a connection call with Mickey Galliner's
Absolutely.
colleague?
I did, Yeah. It was absolutely fantastic, mate. We, when we talk about that stuff, we absolutely love the fact that not only, we can stand up here all day and tell everybody how good Axon is. We can tell everybody about the services that they're going to get, and how much commitment and dedication we're going to put into what it is that we're providing to our clients. But it is so much deeper and so much more profound when one of our clients reaches out and puts their name, and their reputation on the line as well, because it's not a small thing to go ahead $500,000, $600,000 that you're putting of your own money into securing your financial future, to then want your friends and family to do the same thing. Like it's fucking humbling, to be honest. Like it's very humbling. So thank you so much for that, Mickey Gallen. I really appreciate it, mate. We do.
Simo, you and I over the years have helped many of our close friends use our services, and you're absolutely right, Luke. When you have one of your very close friends or a family member come to Axon, it's like, fuck, now I really can't stuff this up.
Yep.
We treat every single client, no matter where they've come from, the exact same way. That's why all the reviews say the exact same thing, because everyone has the exact same experience. But I guess the closer we get to people and the more and more, we get to actually truly like them and they become like part of our posse, the level of care from my perspective anyway, goes through the roof, fellas. I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely, mate. Look, I was online last night, doing an initial coaching, which is, as most of you will know, is the larger coaching session that we do with a very, very close friend of mine, who's kind of reached out. He's getting towards the back end of his career. He's reached out now and he's like, mate, I should have, I got that same old adage out of him as we get out of everyone. I should have done this years ago. I should have gone through the process and done this years ago. But here's the thing, mate, regardless of whether you're towards the back end, at the exciting end of the curve, if you've been investing, or the boring end right at the start, that 2-hour coaching session and doing that planning and understanding the problem set up front is absolutely pivotal to making sure that we're getting it right, regardless of where you are in that circumstance. Like you can be in your first property or your third property, you cannot have any experience in property yourself, or you could have done it your own way. That first initial coaching session that we do really gives us an opportunity to dive right down into the detail. Yeah,
it's all about. You could have, you woulda, coulda, shoulda, but you didn't, and you're here now. So let's fucking crack on.
Let's do it. Yeah, mate, absolutely.
It's similar for when one's getting their finance approved for a property. Obviously, the mortgage broker needs to coordinate with the bank to go out and do a valuation of the property. Now, when the valuer goes out there, like a valuer takes a snapshot of what the property is worth in the here and now. That's their job, right? But in actual fact, they backcast and go, what properties were sold over the last 6 months to allow me to come to that conclusion? So a valuer is actually not the very, very best person to give you a full proper appraisal on how much you could sell the property for. Of course, a real estate agent, their job is to go out there and go, all right, how much can I get for it between now and the next 6 months? They don't care about what's happened before. As a property investor, you need to go and go, this is the mindset you need to have. I'm going to buy this property. I don't care what's happened from yesterday to the year bloody BC. All I care about is what's happening in the future. What projects are coming? What infrastructure is going to be there? What population growth is going to occur? So whilst past performance can be a key indicator of what the future holds, if all that shit is coming in the future and it hasn't happened before, that's the train you want to be on, not the fact that you missed the boat years and years ago.
And that's part of that, while Simo and the team of Merry Men, they go through and they search and hunt for those properties. But it's the pivotal information about what is coming. It's that research that they put in to allow our clients to have access to those key areas that, because ultimately the value of the land or the value of the dirt that you buy is what is going to go up in value.
Yeah, love it. I mean, Dave, you get the opportunity. Not sometimes. I'm very jealous, Luke, very often. Sure, you and I do the strategy, we do the timeline, we do the seat matrix, we map out the cash flow and create what the plan's going to look like. But Dave and his Merry Men, as you quite rightly put it, they get to actually implement the good stuff with the clients. Dave, and then you get to have a bunch of research back briefs and everything. So all the time and diligence that goes into collating all the research reports and the videos and the drone footage and the interactive maps and everything. What's some of the feedback you're getting from the clients, Dave, when they actually get the opportunity to go through, the whole shit wow moment about, is this what's occurring in this location in the future?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sometimes some people are familiar with those areas. They might have grown up there, or they've had family there, or they've holidayed there for many, many years over time. And sometimes this can go back 5, 10, 15. I had someone that was in an area 20 odd years ago. So they're already sort of intrinsically knowledgeable about the area. But if they've been away from the area for some time, they're always blown away to see what has happened in there. The research that we've done over the years, it doesn't change quickly over short periods of time. It's fairly standard. But digging through all the information that is available to be able to draw out the most important parts, basically our 7 key ingredients to a healthy property market, when we focus on those, you have focus on each of those elements. So you can actually form an opinion on an area as opposed to just going, well, this looks good, I'm not sure what's here. But when you actually have it in front of you, most people are blown away, especially when we're looking at things like land supply and the population growth in some of these high profile or high growth areas.
Yeah, so good. Hey, we've had a bunch of people come and say good day. Darren Ponte's in the house now. Patina said we're good to go. I've already changed that for you, Patina, on the side there. Mickey Gunston's joined us as well. Gunny, I just sent you a little SMS, mate. Sorry, I missed your message before. Roger and Trish are in the house, Luke. They're very good friends of yours, I see.
G'day. How are you, Roger and Trish? Lovely to see you here joining us.
Now, as they say, good friends stab you in the front. Luke, how were they during the coaching series? Tell me, tell me what sort of, give us a little insight without any names or pack drills about the journey you took them on.
Mate, I loved it. So, both of us, all of us love when we jump on a call and we bring the energy, regardless of the exchange that we're going to have. We always fill that energy cup when we're going to the call. Mate, I couldn't get any energy in the cup. It was so full from Trish. The whole bloody session was laughing and joking and sort of, having a really good time whilst going through those educational pieces and having those light bulb moments for me to be able to inject that, that information. It was absolutely fantastic. And it was great, get Rog coming home after a hard day's work, sitting down with a cold cup of tea, Rog, certainly not a beer, mate. It was absolutely fantastic to sort of get them, to get to know them and sort of, I just can't believe how relaxed and comfortable they were, to be honest. Like right from the start, it was fantastic.
I actually recall, I think it was Dave, you'd probably recall, certainly I do. It was the first time I remember Trish mentioning something 1 month ago when we did that session. And we're like, hey, if you haven't started with us yet, go watch the training, book a connection call. And obviously now that's happened and they landed in your lap, Luke, just through a matter of consequence. Chance, I should say. And then, here they are. And Trish is even saying, share all the details. I'll give you permission. And Roger's saying that in his cup of tea may or may not have been some Jim Beam. I don't know. I can't comment. Probably looks the same from the top. Obviously smells a little bit different.
The brown.
Do you remember that, Dave? Do you remember Trish being on the chat a month ago?
No, I don't actually.
It's a very poor question for you because your memory is fucking shithouse sometimes.
Right? Numbers and stats, names, no good.
And I give you permission to be like that, noting the stuff that you've been through, mate, for sure.
I promise you, though, Dave, I promise you one thing, mate. When you meet Trish, you will not forget her.
Yeah, that's mate.
I've already done my process and risk and location back brief with Roger and Trish. We're doing a property presentation tomorrow night.
Well, Dave, as I was just saying, Luke, we do not the boring stuff, we do the important stuff. You guys do the flashy stuff, you and your merry men. Yes, James, I do think that Luke did call you merry men, and maybe you need to work on your impression with him. Dave, I'd love your insights because you do have a very different delivery style to us while still upholding Axon's values and ethos. How did you find Roger and Trish, during when they were giving you the back brief?
Yeah, bloody fantastic. Lots of laughs, lots of humour, but most importantly, they got it. They got the information. They understood the process. There was literally nothing there that needed more in-depth explaining by myself. Roger and Trish, big thumbs up, guys. Thanks for doing all your homework and coming prepared to the calls. It's fantastic. I really am looking forward to the presentation.
Noting the homework they had was listening to this jaw off for the better part of 90 minutes. So I apologise. They're like, I can't believe you're here listening to me again for an hour, but I guess it's one of those things, isn't it? Caitlin's in the house saying hi. Brenton Arthur, mate, congrats to you and Brenner on just recently moving into your own home. I'd love for you to maybe share some thoughts, if you don't mind, about what your experience was like, because many people come to us and they're living in a different area and they just buy an investment property, you know what I mean? But you've actually now built your own home, and now yourself and your lovely partner are living in it. Mate, I've got your session there you and I are going to do on the 21st of March as well, so I'm really looking forward to catching up and refreshing everything. But you know, Luke, you've recently been out over the last month to go and welcome people into their own homes. You're still relatively new to this, granted, but yeah, how's that feeling on your end, just to see them, you know, have the set of keys and you know, move into something which they bought?
Mate, I come back after everyone that I go out to, and I feel a little bit selfish in the team, because I go, ultimately, this is what we do it for. Like, this is why people will take that position of delayed gratification to be able to achieve something significant in their life. But when we go out there and we get to hand them the keys and they're signing over those keys from the builder, mate, it's fucking incredible. It's someone's life is doing a pivot point right in front of your eyes, whereby, you know, they've got the largest asset that most people have or will buy in their life. And that's that's their first indication that they're on that path. Brenton, mate, can you, if you're hitting the keys to let us know, buddy, can you just let us know, you know, how it went moving in and what your mum thought when she came around, buddy? Because I know she was lined up to come around and give it a go.
So good. Yeah, I'd love to know that as well, for sure. Hey, we've got our first question that's coming. Dave, I might have been punched you to this one. You can start, Luke, and then I'll come finish off. Justin Owen, Juz, I got your email, as you saw, mate. I know you and I booked in to have a session in the next couple of weeks as well, mate. So I'm looking forward to going through some of your very inventive and out-of-the-box thinking, mate, which I absolutely love, by the way. Says, hey, team, what's your thoughts on using cash versus equity in the current market for your house deposit? So I guess if we can use it for when we're talking house deposit, I guess it doesn't really matter if you're buying your own home or an investment property. I guess that to frame the question, the assumption is you've already got equity in one property and you've maybe got some cash set aside. Should you use the equity or the cash to go ahead and buy another property? Dave, what are your thoughts on that, mate?
That's a great question. It clearly shows a fair bit of thought has gone into the question. A couple of different elements there. When you're using equity, and this is how we do our calculations as well, for clients who are using equity from another property into generally your second investment property is what we normally see. But when we do that, we use 100% of the lending as our calculation. So some maybe less reputable people might go, okay, we're taking 20% out of that house for your deposit and costs, and then we're going to use 80% of a new loan for that other property there. Some people may just leave that other property and the equity release on its own, not even look at it, and just show you the numbers of the property with the 80% loan there. What that does, it doesn't really give you the true picture of the cash flow of the property, especially if the money is coming from an owner-occupier home as well, which has no income coming in on it. You need to look at, if you are using equity from another property, the whole set of numbers or the whole portfolio as a whole. In the environment that we're at the moment, with our interest rates increasing, coming back to the average over the last 20, 30, 40 years or so, which is closer to 6 or 7%, as you use more equity for your investment properties, it's not going to cash flow as well. So if you use cash, if you have that cash available and you use cash deposits, even for your second property there, it means that you're going to have a better cash flow for that property and your portfolio as a whole. Obviously, you have to burn some of your cash, and you don't have your cash buffer there, which is extremely important. You do have to make sure you don't leave yourself short. But essentially, you need to just weigh up, if I use equity from another property, investment property, or a PPOR, then you need to look at the entire picture, which is that 100% of the lending. It won't cash flow as well because you've got a property there that is servicing 100% of the loan, probably plus some costs as well. And as interest rates go up, it's going to make it a little bit harder for that cash flow. So you will have to be chipping in a little bit of your own weekly cash to keep that property in the market. And arguably, they're in bloody fantastic markets growing with good equity.
Won't really matter. Yeah, good. Thanks for that, Dave. Luke, a shorter version from you, please.
Yeah, mate, easy. So for me, once I get past one property and I've got a portfolio, I look at that holistically. So that portfolio then becomes a holistic transaction that I'm making, right? What I want to make sure that I'm doing if I'm using equity or an equity release loan is that I'm leaving myself with a cash buffer to be able to offset that equity that I would have been using in the first place. So it should actually negate, depending on your financial structure, negate that cost association. But for me, I want to hold on to as much of my cash as possible because I want to get wealthy off other people's money. So I'm going to use as much as the banks will allow me to use whilst I've still got that buffer sitting there.
Yeah. They're all very, very relevant points. The two things I'd bring up would be sometimes, so it's not just either or, it can be and or. So you can use a combination of, maybe you can use 10% equity and 10% of your own cash for a 20% deposit, 20% deposit. So I guess it's not just the one or the other. And I guess ultimately, if you're able to put cash in and still have enough leftovers from a cash buffer perspective, you're borrowing less money, so you'll be able to pay the debt off quicker. And that's ultimately the main goal, right? Is to get to a point when you're an old bastard like this thing here, then you want to have as low a debt as you can in your life, depending on when you started and depending on what your goals are going to be. But yeah, so the good news is you're borrowing less money, you've got to pay back less interest, but then you got less to claim on tax. So, as James quite wisely put there, using equity and having a lower cash flow is the price you pay literally than saving another 80 grand, plus on your cash.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I hope that works out. Justin gives you a little bit of clarity there anyway about what we might talk about. KC, can you please bring up Brenton's response? And I haven't even read this yet, but it looks bloody amazing. And I'll read it out, Luke, because you were out there. Yeah, for sure. As much as it was a long time coming, the whole team from the coaching call with RT to handover day with, I swear, everyone was absolutely fantastic. Working alongside different areas was really easy. When I thought I had heaps of questions, it was answered super quick and was exactly what I needed. Move day was nothing like it should have been. Typical toll, ha, ha, ha. But Mum hasn't seen it just yet, Luke. She's coming tomorrow for the night and has already claimed her own room. Yeah, wow. And as Franny rightly points out, an amazing insight. So that's very good.
Brenton, can you please let us know, mate? Because I know how excited you were for your mum to see that first property, given how close you and your mum are and how closely you've sort of, she supported you on this journey. Please, let our RT and I know and how it went and what she thinks of the property and her room, by the way. Let us know if she claims the master.
Kick you out.
Love it. Mickey Gullen has got a question. What are your thoughts on having investment properties structured into a family trust? Friends have asked the question and I have no idea. So, Luke, have you had a chance to answer this question before with someone else, or do you want me to roll straight into it?
No, I have. I'm going through this currently as we speak, so I'm going through the process. And I think it's important to note that, we're not financial advisors. So we're not sitting here and giving you advice on how to set up trusts, what they are. But what I can do is talk about my personal experience of just going through it with a qualified financial advisor. Look, there are, like with everything that you go through in these spaces, there are pros and cons that you have to take into consideration with your personal circumstances. Okay, if you've got an asset that's held within a trust, one of the biggest things is it'll have a lower cash flow up front. So it'll be owned by the trust, not by yourself, like it's its own legal entity. And that cash flow depreciation will sit inside that trust. Okay, so you can't then offset your own personal income against those depreciations for the house. So what you need to make sure is if it's your first property or while you're establishing your portfolio and you've got a lower cash flow, you need to be able to make sure that you're going to be able to tip more into that to offset that tax deduction that you won't get. There are some very, very strong legal parameters around the protection provided by trusts, et cetera, But to be fair and honest, like you only should be looking at that once you've got a portfolio worth a couple of mil. Like you shouldn't be jumping in and overcomplicating things because you want to make it as simple as possible up front so you make sure you get it right.
Yeah, beautiful. For me, the simple answer is, for all those reasons that Luke just said as well, if you ever find yourself in a role whereby you think you're going to get sued, so therefore you as the individual may lose some of your assets, put it in a third party or a different entity whereby it can have that air gap and be protected. But if you're working in a normal role in the Defence Force or even as a civilian, and the likelihood of you being professionally sued by someone is extremely low, why would you forego the tax advantages, and why would you limit yourself to this many lenders that do lending within trusts as opposed to this many lenders that do lenders to everyone else? So it's the whole juice is worth the squeeze thing, Luke. If you're a doctor, don't fucking buy a house. Like the likelihood of it may not be a good idea to buy a house in your own name because the likelihood of you being sued by someone as a doctor is relatively high. And you don't want to have that house, that roof over your head, be taken away by someone who wins some sort of civil case against you, etc. I'm talking very, very loose and layman's terms here. Please get proper financial advice from someone licensed.
I was just going to say, Mick Gallagher, just to clarify, mate, I'm not planning on being sued, by the way. The reason I'm doing it for my self-managed super fund, so going through that process, which is a whole other beast.
Whereby it has to be bought in a trust. It can't be bought by an individual, because
Exactly.
a self-managed super fund is a third-party thing there. Darren Ponte, I got your message there, mate. This is not the forum for us to just go, there's a dollar figure with no context. If you want to know how things work, mate, the very first thing we do when you're accepted in having a coaching session with Luke and I, in the first 5 minutes of the coaching session, we go through the full business model with absolute complete transparency, so you know exactly what's going on up front. So it's no good us saying it's like X amount of dollars with no context. At the end of the day, mate, if you're concerned about paying money for something and you don't really know what value you're going to get from it, this is not the context for me to be able to, provide you that detail right now. Matty Fleming, my man, Brenton Harther, worth the wait. Congrats, mate. Absolutely. And Matty, I see that your property's coming along really well. Now, this is going to be something to behold. So Matt's actually building a unique style property. One of the builders that we've got there is creating effectively a rising roof out the back of the property. Back of the property. I've seen the frame and some of the enclosed photos, and it looks really, really good, buddy. Thank you, Darren. By the way, I'm more than happy. Like, if you Noah and/or KC, can you please send the link through to Darren so you can go ahead and book a connection call, etc. And mate, if you're more than happy for me to jump on there, I'll make sure that you come my way, Darren, and you and I can have a proper conversation. So yeah, it's going to be really, really unique to be able to see this different rising roof at the back of the house. It's just going to create so much more space. So I'm really, no doubt, Matt, you and Ash are looking forward to seeing that come to life. Mickey Gallen, cheers. We'll discuss with you, Robbie, next time we chat, as I might have a few other questions leading off my quick. No dramas, Mick. Your build will be finished before you know it, buddy, and then you'll do a little hot wash with Angie and the build support team, and then you can jump straight in my calendar. Or if it's something a little bit more pressing, mate, just reach out. My team will be able to send you a link, so you can jump in my calendar, whenever you want, mate. You've got unlimited access to me. You're part of our sort of paying client program anyway, mate. So Mick, I'm all yours, buddy. I'm absolutely all yours. Fran's talking about Matt and House looks amazing, outstanding, etc., etc. All right, Noah's got all that stuff sorted out over there. Let's break track for a second. So we did something over the last month or so that I want to share with everyone, and we actually at the end of each quarter, and obviously at the end of each year, myself and Tamara and the other senior leaders sort of sit down with the rest of the team and like, hey, what more do you guys want? What continuous professional development do you want or need? So we had an opportunity, the leaders of the team, and your presence included, fellas. We did some leadership training, and we did some stuff from Jocko Willink. So, I guess whilst Luke, I was your leadership instructor down at Duntroon, and Simo, certainly some of the key concepts that Jocko put forward. Maybe KC, if you get a chance to just drop that link into the chat now, please, mate. He's talking about lessons from war when it comes to leadership. But, how did you guys sort of how did you guys rate that session, and what did you get out of it when you were listening to someone of Jocko's? There's the link there for your team. Jump on there and have a listen. Someone of his experience and his composure, yet the way he's able to explain some of the leadership principles. Luke, where you go,
mate? Two things jumped out at me. The first being is the fairly quick saying that came out of it, like a fairly quick phrase, which is discipline equals freedom. I absolutely love like that really rang my bell going through. Like, he is a very, very profound gentleman who's putting himself in an amazing position through being disciplined and his approach to life. So that concept of discipline equals freedom sort of rang true to me in my own personal life, of course, but when talking about being in the property space and talking about investing, when we take it down that path, the way to which to secure your financial future is absolutely through discipline. Because when you have bad habits, what happens? When you don't have discipline and don't put measures in place to be able to achieve that, they just go out the window. And so before you know it, 5 years have gone by and you haven't done shit with what you've got in front of you, and you're wasting opportunities. So that was the first thing. The second thing for me, and this is quite a strong military context the way he puts it, but it's extreme ownership, owning your problem set. Like that really rang true to me, like to my bones. Is if you own your problem set, you own your solution. That doesn't mean you have to go on the journey by yourself. It doesn't mean you don't have to have assistance. It doesn't mean you don't get guidance and support from other professionals, external to yourself. But it means that you own the fucking problem set because it allows you to solve that problem.
Yeah. Taking ownership of your life, taking ownership of your actions, taking ownership of everything around you is just so empowering.
Yeah.
All of you have seen it from me over the last 6, 9, 12 months. And it's something that I had to, make a change about. And we've all popped out the other end for the better. So look, it's a really good point. Dave, is there something else that resonated with you?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about extreme ownership as well, but I'll talk a little bit further on the other stuff there. Bloody Jocko Willink is a beast of a man. He's a bloody professional war fighter.
Yes.
He did it for many, many years. Slight man crush, you might have noticed. But
what did they say, Dave? I think one of the guys was like, picture what a US Navy SEAL would look like, and then Jocko Willink pops up from Wikipedia. That's what it is.
That's a picture on the front page of Wikipedia for that. But whilst the leadership stuff you would expect from him, the level and the depth of the intellect behind it was quite surprising. To know that what he's been through, all the battles that he's been in, and to be able to have the mindset to be able to link all of that to leadership, and not just leadership as well, but generally how to be a bloody good person. Like know that there's other people in and around your space. Whilst everyone generally focuses inwards on themselves and the rest of the world sort of rotates around them and what they're doing, which is totally acceptable. Everyone needs to look after themselves. Jocko Willink has like the innate ability to know what's happening around him, as do like most top level professional sports people, know where the ball's going to be. Like that saying, don't stand where you think the ball is, stand where you think the ball's going to be, like ahead of time, whatever it is. But just everything that he does and the way that he is able to put it out there, it's easy to understand. It makes sense, and just getting goosebumps while watching that whole series that he had there, or the interview that he had with that guy.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Go for it, Luke.
Sorry, mate. I was just going to say, I know you've watched that with your military moron green tin hat on, and you watched it to inspire yourself from a professional perspective in your military sense, and you as a leader. But the first time you watched it with your Axon shirt on and your Axon cape on, mate, can you just tell us a little bit about that? Like, what was the change in perspective for you?
Yeah, massive. I mean, we took a bunch of notes there for everyone, and I guess he was talking about countries when they go to war, countries when they've got friction, countries when they have uncertainty. You try and solve it, with diplomacy, and then ultimately it's fucking turns into a fighting match, and there they are. The biggest thing I took away was, in the context of Axon, in some way, shape, or form, our clients are at war with their futures. So I'm like, that's our job, is to be able to provide them some like the diplomacy through the education, through the coaching, through the plan. Like if you're unsure of what your financial situation is going to be like in 20 years' time, you're technically at war with that. Now, what you do with that and how you address it and the strategy putting forward and the pathway that you follow is all up to you, whether you use our services or not. Over to you. That's between you and the person in the mirror. But yeah, I really took away from that, and I had watched that 3 or 4 times beforehand before even choosing it to do, to share with the leadership team there. But yeah, Axon's clients are at war with their financial future. I'd love to know your thoughts in the chat box there about whether what I just said resonated with you. In the meantime, KC, can you just see in the little private chat there, I've put another little link. One of the other things that really resonated with me, because as both of you have rightly said, he is a big, burly, fucking brute of a man, but he's got such a soft side. He put himself through university, did a major in English, studied Shakespeare, etc., and then he went and wrote a bunch of kids' books.
Yeah.
So that fucking hell, talk about the balance of life, the seesaw, the yin and the yang, whatever it is. So if you're a parent watching this right now, please click on that link, just load it on another thing and just let it sit there for a bit, and then jump in there I have no affiliation with Amazon. I have no affiliation with the Warrior Kid books. I'm just letting you know those books have come, and it'll be a really, really great insight into making sure that you, as predominantly defense serving or veterans parents, the way you'll be able to communicate, to your children based on a couple of kids' books that have come from, arguably one of the fucking greatest modern day warriors that is still alive. There's another little free resource there for you. So, it's in one of those things. Hello, Mum. Hi, guys. Sorry I'm late, but I had to prioritize my time tonight as Home and Away was on. Mum, I was watching Home and Away with you the 33 years ago that I left our wonderful home back in country South Australia. For the 10 years before that, fuck me, I don't know, mate. You're as old as Ralph. Ralph's almost as old as you, I should say. But I hope you're enjoying that. Please go back and watch this from the start. I know you'll love it. So, good on you there, fellas. And just quickly, Glennie Halls, mate, thanks so much for the comment. Mate, I remember speaking to you probably, I think it was even before Axon started, and I was talking to you and your missus there about some stuff. So, great to see how you've grown and expanded. Mate, I understand you're going through some health issues at the moment. I saw on your Facebook page there. So, sending you love and best wishes to get through that stuff as quickly as you can. Angie Paradise said, loved it. I'm responsible for everything that happens. So, I just wanted to share with everyone there, team, a little bit of insights into some of the CPD or continuous professional development that we at Axon, are doing here to make sure that, because at the end of the day, here's the thing, right? I want to be the best CEO I can so I can create the best environment to recruit the best people to provide the best services, which is ultimately going to give us the best clients. Like when you have like an OODA loop, which goes around like that the whole way around, then, it's a no-brainer really. So, as I said to all of you, I was really humbled and grateful that yourself, us three, Noah, Angie, and Tammy there was able to sit down and basically go through. That was really, really cool. So, there you go, team. There's another free resource there for you as an adult to look into some of your leadership styles, but also jump in and go, hey, there might be a bit of a resource where you can, buy a couple of books for $20 on Amazon or whatever, and, sit with your kids and go through it also. Hello, Junior Herman. Great to see you again. Fantastic. Luke, I feel like you're going to say something.
Mate, I'm just trying to let the clients know and let our community know that in one particular event, like you get it right all the time, but in one particular event where you got it especially right is in the opportunity for me to get, not me training, but for Ryan to come on board. Ladies and gents, we have an absolute cracker of a property coach who is coming on board. He is about 2 times my intelligence breadth. He is about 3 times better looking than me and way more charming. He is absolutely fantastic. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been taking him through, and his ability to pick up and assimilate information has just been absolutely fucking inspiring. I cannot wait for him to get to the point where the shackles are off and he's able to, to really show what he can do out there for our clients. I'm really looking forward to that.
It has been a really great dynamic. So we've got KC, who's doing the executive production on the back end tonight, Georgia, who's our EA/PA, and then Ryan. They all started on the same date. What's that better part of 3 or 4 weeks ago? 3.5 weeks ago. So there's been a little bit of that whole form, storm, norm, perform team dynamics. To have 3 people come and join a team of 15 is, a reasonable sort of effort there, especially when they're all across 3 different departments. So it has been really good to see Ryan. He'll come and join us on these calls very, very soon. I'm giving him the bandwidth to just focus on nailing the connection call first. Then he'll know how to do the coaching session, and then we'll fucking feed him to the wolves, and bring him on the screen here. Luke, something else really, really great's happened over the last couple of weeks, and that's you and I have been putting the microphone on, mate. Tell us about a couple of podcasts we've done.
Mate, there's been a couple of crackers. There was you and I sat down, the Green Dream team sat down and did my introduction, and we kind of, it was only planned for an hour. They're not scripted, as everybody knows. So where the conversation takes us, that's where we end up sort of letting it go. And ours went for an hour, but we like to keep it at that hour sort of, so we're looking at doing phase 2. So there'll be phase 2. In that first one, I got to share my experience in joining the military, what sort of got me over the line, and pointed in that direction. And then a couple of particular characters through my career that sort of put in some real kind of, some real effort into making sure that I stayed on the straight and narrow. We then got an opportunity to jump in with Ryan, who is the gentleman we were just referring to, and he gave him an opportunity to share his story, which was fantastic. He's such a great bloke. And then of course he volleyed off he volleyed off some information about he and his wife, lovely wife Amana. So of course we had to give her the platform to be able to volley back. So the one we did, a couple of days ago, we got Amana on the mic and got in to tell her story and her journey through defence as well, which was awesome.
Wasn't that really insightful to have a female's interpretation of the shock and awe and capture of going through basic training, Luke? I don't think I've ever spoken to a proper female at that depth anyway with this focus on, and she handled herself really well. And by the way, she corrected the record a few times of when Ryan went off the roll. I've made a few assumptions about a couple of things.
She absolutely did. If you get a chance, please go and have a listen to those. It's really important that you not only see us, because you see us sitting up the front, you see, as a collective community, you see, us bullfeds, the three of us sitting up the front and sort of, engaging. It's really important that you get to see the bones that make up Axon. So, who they are and what makes those people tick, because ultimately they're the people that are serving you. They're the people that are going to bring you that result.
Yeah, so good. Glennie Hawes, been tough, mate. Nearly ready, mate. Get into after divorce. We'll reach out shortly. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. Keep doing it, legend. Have a go at the team under your belt. Cheers to you, buddy. Fantastic. Mickey Gunston, what an awesome podcast, Luke. Wow, what a ride. It's great you all inviting, you guys, us into your lives. So, talk about someone who's listened to all the podcasts. I think Mick and his mate Dan, who I coached on Monday night, the wonderful Dan and Yaz. And, it's Luke, what you and I went out and did a site visit yesterday, and what did I say? And you've now experienced it when you spoke to Julie over in Perth, was it? Tell us about that.
Mate. Like, I know you always said to me, it's such a strange feeling when someone's sort of repeating back your life stories and your life experience, and that you haven't spoken to them. You've never, you've never spoken to that person about that experience, and so it's really strange when someone says, "But what about that time when you went and did this?" And hang on a minute,
I didn't tell you that.
Do a double take. It's absolutely, it genuinely is fantastic that and you're right, Mick. It's amazing to give people an opportunity to listen to who we are and to share our stories and share that, the honest, raw, real, warts and all people that we are, because we're only, we're people at the end of the day, and it gives you an insight into what makes us tick. So I genuinely fucking love doing these podcasts.
You've heard me use the term plenty of times before, and I am the ultimate front runner as far as this goes. We're perfectly imperfect.
Perfect.
Not you, David. You are a fucking very, very fine-looking man. You're a bloody legend. Dave, tell us quickly. You went down to, was it Sydney or Canberra? To just give us a bit of an insight into what you did from a sort of strategic PR event.
Yeah, Sydney just last week. I've known Damien Tomlinson for a little while. For those that are unfamiliar with him, he's a commando who lost both of his legs and a bunch of other injuries in an IED blast in Afghanistan. He's been working with this photographer for a good 4 or 5 years, just in other general projects and the like. And the photographer asked Damien to be the executive or the producer for the project. And basically, it's going to be a photographic installation around the area where they've taken, and it's called Service. So they're taking a bunch of photos of different veterans, possibly serving, but more so ex-serving, I believe. And basically, we go and do some photos. So it's good because it's a photographic installation. They do some profile shots and some other general shots. They also did a short interview with me as well, so I got to tell my story. They're going to have the photos provided in these displays. There'll also be QR codes there, so you can scan the QR code and then go and listen to the interview to get more context about the person, the story behind the photos. But it was phenomenal. They flew me down to Sydney, got my blue steel on for a couple of hours there, and got some photos done. Sat in, had the interview, and I actually enjoy talking about the stuff that I go through. Gives me the opportunity to educate people, not just on what happened, but the outcome of those actions, like the battles that I was in, the wounds that I received, physical and mental. And with the mental side, which has sort of come to the fore with me in the last 4 or 5 years, it enables me to tell that story, provide insight into how it affects people, and then more importantly, encourage people, defence serving members predominantly, to go and seek help if they need it as well. So that was very valuable to me.
Well done, Dave. I love it, mate. You've been part of lots of these sort of like your journey, your story, your presence, your looks, and just the way you hold yourself, mate. Like, I'm so glad that people continue to reach out to you, so then you can contribute to some of their strategic messaging, mate. So you should be, and I know you are, humbly very proud about what you've done and what you sort of continue to do. Yeah. Above and beyond what you do with process and risk back briefs and bloody hunting for the best properties, etc. That's your day-to-day stuff, but it's not who you are. There's so much more to you, mate, which I'm so proud that we get to experience every day. You'll see this in the little thing there, Team KC's put up there, Damien Tomlinson's webpage. He was the co-host of one of the Prime Minister's Veterans Awards that Tamara and I attended down in Canberra last year. Fucking fantastic bloke, lost both his legs, walking around on bloody, stilt sort of thing. And, fucking is a champion golfer, and he's just, gone from strength to strength in his life. So it's a really inspiration, you guys can get under your belt there. So that's amazing. Dave, just tell us quickly whilst I got you there, mate, how is the dynamics of the land availability, any price rises that we're seeing from a building perspective, and just the overall sort of temperature of the build climate at the moment as far as how fast, things are getting done compared to what they were this time last year, for instance?
Extremely different from this time last year. What are we talking about? We're talking about early 2022. We're pretty much still in the thick of it back then in terms of build price increases, long time frames. It was starting to turn then, but we were still seeing extremely long time frames between submitting expressions of interest on house and land packages, and then the time frame for when that land was going to register, and then the client could then settle on their block of dirt. Fast forward to now, and even from probably about November or December, it's been largely similar. We did have that break over the Christmas period. We've been back into it now for about 7 weeks, back in the office. And I'm continuing to see some easing of like the trouble or the restrictions that we were facing in terms of land availability. We are seeing more and more lots become available now. That's not because that they're turning over and developing land quicker. It's because less people are looking to buy land. The interest rates have had some effect on that, actually quite a bit of an effect on that. It's slowing people down. The increase in interest rates has affected predominantly everybody, but to a larger degree as well, single people on their one income. For the couples out there with 2 incomes, minimal children, their borrowing capacities are much better. So they're still able to proceed quite well. But in terms of the availability of land, something we're also seeing is lots coming back to market. So land that has been sold previously, 6, 12, potentially even 18 months ago. We've come through all this period. Now we've just gone through a period as well where we've had 9 interest rate increases over the last 9 months. What I was talking about before there, where people were, especially the singlies, were finding that they no longer had the borrowing capacity that they did back then, now finding that they can't settle on that block of dirt. So they have to let it go back to market. What we are finding is that we're actually snapping up some of these lots, some at the original prices, some that have been repriced, generally in line with what the market is. But when we are able to grab those ones that are still quite well priced from 12 months ago, it's a huge bonus to our clients grabbing those.
Yeah, I guess it just helps, doesn't it? Like, so that by the time, like, there's a little bit of traction, there's a little bit of momentum, people get excited about, being able to take a property off the market, do the due diligence with the contracts, and they're effectively just rolling straight into the finance, straight into like land settlement, building approval timeframes, and bang, they're building in a couple of months, not like 12 months sort of thing. So
even talking about it around October, November last year, we were still talking about land registrations with land that was 6 months away. Exactly what you said there, Robbie. We're now seeing clients that are submitting expressions of interest, and we're going, all right, let's get those contracts done because we can start finance straight away. Yeah, that's so good, mate. We've had the better part of a dozen new clients come into our lane, Luke, from a success package perspective. Simo, we've submitted nearly 12 expressions of interest this year, but there's been nearly 15 land settlements occurred. So by the end of next week, we're going to have nearly 15 land settlements under our belt. So, build support, girls. I'm glad you've had a really quiet last 6 months.
there's a bunch of clients coming your way. And, I think Deb's got I'm just looking on the back end channel here. At the moment, Deb's got 20 deals that she's currently applying for finance, and their blocks are going to register in the next few weeks, and then away they go. So, the good news is the wait for those clients is now over. They've been able to sit on their hands, wrap themselves in cotton wool, keep maintaining a savings routine. The finance stuff that Deb's doing on the back channel that she briefed us on today internally is all sort of, working out really well, and that they're all going to be successful. So it's a bloody good outcome.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, Timo, you raised a really good point, mate, about single incomes and wanting to still execute against, putting a plan in place to be able to, get your foot in the market, so to speak, in the right way, knowing that the first property is the most important to get right because it's the one that ultimately lets us leapfrog. I guess we are seeing a trend whereby single people are finding it tougher to be able to get their foot in the market initially when you're saving for those deposit costs, right? So we are going to have to put into place that delayed gratification strategy whereby we have a plan. We are, we stick to that plan. We set our goals, and then we put the structures in place to be able, or the systems in place to be able to achieve those goals. And that becomes even more important to have someone like you and the team as an accountability buddy or a battle buddy while you're going through it. Because I know you guys check in regularly with your clients to go, hey, where are you at? Hey, how many coffees have you not had this month so you could save towards your fucking house? Like, I know that you guys absolutely love reaching out and touching base with the clients to keep them in check, because what you check will get done well, essentially.
Yeah, that's a great saying. Yeah, we are invested as much as the clients are. We want to see them actually succeed in securing their land and getting the build started. And I see friends comment there as well. Build times are normalising. Yes, absolutely. We used to have like a 6-month sort of time frame where we would allocate for the build, and that'd be the far extent that we were expected to go to. When we were going through COVID and we were in the peak of supply issues and trades issues, we pushed that out to about 10 or 11 months. And yeah, Fran, exactly. We are starting to see those timeframes condense, which is large because materials and trades are becoming more available. The supply issues that we were facing are starting to dissipate. They're not entirely fixed. It'll only take another bloody weather event of some sort, like a massive flood, and that could screw us over again. But it is getting better than what it used to be, which is fantastic for everyone about to build or in construction at the moment.
Gold. Luke, just as we sort of finish up with the 7 or 8 minutes to go, you bring a good point about people trying to get to the point where they can save the right amount of money to enter the property market. And let's talk about owner ocs for a second. Yeah. We're not an investment property firm. We help people buy property, owner ocs, and investment. One of the fallacies that has been around for quite a while, Paul Cooney's just jumped up. Dog, good to see you, brother. I'll do this before I move on. Singlers should see themselves as more than a single income when rental income is taken into account. Obviously, it doesn't apply to those trying to get in the market. Yes, mate, absolutely. So the rental income for an investment property is absolutely taken into account. So if you're going to get $500 a week, rent on your property, there's an extra $26,000 a year that will be taken into account from the mortgage broker. But that means you still got to pay your own rent to keep a roof over your head. So it's a bit of a catch-22 there. But when you're living in your own home, when you're about to buy your own home, for instance, you don't need a minimum of a 10% deposit. So I'll bring up a little website in a second, and I'll share my screen to just remind you of something which has been around for a while. It's had a recent name change that I want to be able to share with everybody. And I guess the good news is that if you've got your RA and you've got your current rental costs, over your head, when the mortgage broker or the DOHAS lending specialist is doing their calculations for you to borrowing capacity to buy your own home, your current roof over your head costs don't exist because you're going to move into this one, right? So that's how that all works. Casey, if you can chuck that link into there, mate, and I'll go ahead and share my screen, please, if you can make that happen for us. So the key here is you don't need to have a 10%. So when you buy an investment property, you've got to have a minimum of a 10% deposit to go ahead, and then you'll pay your lender's mortgage insurance. But when you go ahead and buy your own home, you can see there's this thing called the First Home Guarantee, which is from the National Housing and Finance and Investment Corporation. This used to be called FLID's, First Home Loan Deposit Scheme. Many of our clients, when the home builder grant was in play, went and did this whereby they just had a 5% deposit. So I guess in broad terms, those on a strict savings timeline right now, you don't need to wait until you can save up a 10% or a 20% deposit. You can get in sooner by having just the 5% deposit. So there you go, minimum 5% deposit required. There's only 35,000 places for this current financial year. There's no indication from a budgetary perspective that they're not going to roll it over again till next year, like they've done for the last few years. It must be the first home buyers, so you can't have bought an investment property or an own home beforehand. So first being first in the true sort of sense of the word. You can buy a new or an existing home. You can be single or couple applicants, and the maximum purchase limits apply. Let me jump straight to that. So if you are in New South Wales, if you're in the regional city, you can't. A limit will apply as far as how much that's going to be, 900 or 750 for the rest of the state. If you're in Victoria, it's 800 and 650 respectively. If you're in Queensland, it's 700,000 and 550 respectively, and you can see the rest of it there. But let me just sort of give you like a quick little indication as far as eligibility goes. Individual married couple, Australian citizen, 18 years of age. You can earn up to 125 as a single or 200 grand for couples. If you earn more than that, this handout from the government doesn't exist. It's effectively means tested, right? Which is completely fine. Intending to be owner occupiers of the purchased property, first home buyers who have not previously owned or had an interest in a property in Australia. As you can see, existing house, townhouse or apartment, a house and land package, land and separate contract to build a home or an off-the-plan apartment, how to apply, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll take that off now, KC, and you can just bring me back to life. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's a really, so I guess the main thing here is generally if you've got a 5% deposit, you'll have to pay 3% of the loan amount as lender's mortgage insurance. If you've got a 10% deposit, you'll pay 2% of the loan amount as lender's mortgage insurance. If you've got a 15% deposit, you'll only pay 1% of the loan amount as lender's mortgage insurance. Obviously, you've got a full 20% deposit, LMI doesn't apply to you. So, it's really important if you're buying a $650,000 property, you can get in with just $32,000 and, your stamp duty concessions and a little bit of legal fees there. And you're saving yourself effectively $15,000 in lender's mortgage insurance up front, and you don't have to have a full 10% deposit. So I just wanted to share that with you. Like, it's a bit of a trend really, Luke, isn't it? I'd say there's a healthy mix at the moment between you and I that, there are a lot of people that are posted to, the right areas to go ahead and pull the trigger on their ADF housing entitlements. I'm still not talking about Townsville. I'm still not talking about Darwin. I'm still not talking about Perth. And I'm still not talking about Adelaide before you fucking tap me in the thing there. They're a no-go zone. I literally said no to someone last week. They're like, but what if we get posted to Darwin? We still want to be able to use Axon service. And I'm like, no, it doesn't complete. I'm not fucking helping you buy a house in Darwin because I don't like, you're going to hate me and hate yourself in a few years' time when it's fucking hasn't gone up in value. Sorry to say that. So like Luke, last couple of minutes there, I know the looks on people's faces when I show them this, or not poor parent either, mum, by the way. When I show them this, they're like, holy shit, we thought we're going to have, you're going to need so much more to get started, but it's actually quite a small amount for owner ops only.
It is absolutely, like, I love it when you bring, because more often than not, people don't know what is available to them. And so it becomes even more important to have people like us on your team so that we can apply those right strategies in place to be able to get the best outcome. When, of course, you're in those areas that are healthy with the 7 ingredients, or rich with the 7 ingredients to a healthy property market. So I've used it a couple of times with a couple of my clients, and it has absolutely been the difference between them getting into their first property whilst they're in that space, being able to use all of their entitlements, their DOAS, HPAS, first homeowners, and then of course the stamp duty exemption that you get up front as well. So really putting themselves in a great position. And oh, by the way, once they're posting out, that then slides across to an investment property, and they've got themselves in the door for bugger all, in the grand scheme of things, when you take into consideration all of those, those additional grants that come in. It's a real, rabbit out of the hat kind of moment when people go, fuck, I didn't know we were so close.
Just think about it, right? If you think you need a minimum of a 10% deposit on a $650,000 house, that's 65 grand, plus you've got your stamp duty and legal fees to pay for as well. But now you only need $32,000. So if you're a lot closer to 32, or you're even like, say you're at 40 and you're posting somewhere, please reach out to us so we can put a plan together, and you might be able to get into your own home sooner. So, or the question I ask you, if you didn't know that, how long is it going to take you to save another $32,000 that you're going to spend immediately? Yeah, too fucking long is the answer. All right, final words. How'd you find that, mate? Thank you so much for sharing some of your amazing knowledge.
For me, mate, it's something that we take for granted all the time, and that's our knowledge. And even when we're talking to people in the process and the risks, the assumed knowledge can be dangerous. if we assume that other people know what we know about the property process and the investment scene and buying your own home and everything like that. So I'm always reminding myself that the stuff that we're going through, not everybody knows about. That's why they've come here. So I'm always feel very privileged to be able to pass that information on, knowledge on.
Love it, mate. You're a bloody wealth of information. Luke, thanks very much for joining us. Ladies and gents, that takes us to the end of our live Q&A. We've got another one booked for, I think, it's another 2 weeks or so. So you'll see, Luke, you and I will definitely be on, and we'll probably have another special guest with us. So we'll see you all then. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great night.
See you
Thanks,
later.
Steve. Thanks, Noah. Thanks, KC.